Order! Order in the Emergency Council! Defense Minister Crix Vex slammed his gelatinous appendage against the crystalline podium, sending ripples through his translucent body. The assembled representatives of the Galactic Security Council, representing 247 spacefaring civilizations, gradually settled into an uneasy silence. The grand chamber of the Galactic Security Headquarters on Nexus Prime buzzed with nervous energy. Floating orbs of soft blue light illuminated the towering ceiling, casting shadows across the worried faces of countless alien species. Some floated, some crawled, some existed as pure energy, but all shared the same expression of growing concern. Lead Security Officer Max Quantum stood at attention, his normally pristine uniform showing signs of stress. Dark circles under all four of his eyes suggested he hadn't slept in several planetary rotations. The holoscreen behind him flickered ominously. "Esteemed members of the Council," Max began, his voice cracking slightly, "what I'm about to present will challenge everything we thought we knew about our newest members of the galactic community, the humans." A collective murmur rippled through the chamber. Chief Analyst Blip Zerp, whose crystalline form sparkled under the lights, leaned forward with interest. The humans had only joined the community 3 solar cycles ago, but they'd already caused more bureaucratic headaches than any species in recent memory. "We've detected a phrase," Max continued, "a simple phrase that, when analyzed, reveals a terrifying truth about human psychology. Our linguistic experts are still in shock. 3 have resigned. 1 has taken a vow of silence." The holoscreen behind Max displayed the words in standard galactic basic, "Hold my beer." "What's a beer?" asked Representative Izix from the methane-breathing clouded worlds. "A mild poison humans consume for pleasure," Max replied grimly. "But that's not the terrifying part. When a human says these words, they are about to attempt something so monumentally dangerous, so completely irrational, that it defies our greatest supercomputer's ability to calculate the probability of success." Chief Analyst Blip Zerp's crystalline form vibrated with distress. "Surely you're exaggerating, Officer Quantum. No species would intentionally—" "I wish I was," Max cut in, his lower left eye twitching. "We have footage, multiple incidents, each more impossible than the last. The humans don't just survive these attempts, they succeed. They succeed in ways that mock the very laws of physics." Defense Minister Crix Vex's gelatinous form had gone pale, almost transparent. "Show us," he commanded, though his voice suggested he'd rather not see. "I must warn you," Max said, straightening his collar. "What you're about to witness may fundamentally alter your understanding of reality. The psychological safety team has prepared calming chambers outside the hall for anyone who needs them after the presentation." The lights dimmed, the holoscreen expanded, and in that moment, as the first video began to play, not a single being in the vast chamber could have predicted how their understanding of the universe was about to change forever. The security footage from Space Station Omega crackled to life on the massive holoscreen. Timestamp, 3 standard galactic months ago. "This," Max Quantum narrated, "is human engineer Amanda Chen. Watch carefully." The footage showed a bustling maintenance bay aboard Space Station Omega. Various alien technicians scurried about, attending to their duties with methodical precision. In the center of the frame stood Amanda Chen, her dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, standard-issue engineering jumpsuit covered in grease stains. The station's primary quantum core had suffered catastrophic damage, Max continued. Repair estimates suggested 3 weeks minimum, with a full evacuation required due to lethal radiation levels. The Council watched as a group of senior engineers, including 2 mechanoid units and a swarm intelligence cluster, gestured animatedly at a holographic display of the damaged core. Their body language, even for the non-organic members, screamed hopelessness. Then Amanda Chen smiled. That smile, Max would later write in his report, should have been their first warning sign. "Hey, Travis!" Amanda's voice came through crystal clear on the recording. She turned to her fellow human engineer, who was drinking something from a silver container. "Hold my beer. I've got an idea." Several council members gasped. Defence Minister Crix Vex's gelatinous form rippled with anxiety. "Please note," Max said, "that Engineer Chen's vital signs showed no indication of stress or concern. Her heart rate actually decreased." The footage continued. Amanda grabbed a maintenance bot, 2 plasma wrenches, and, most horrifyingly, a roll of what humans called duct tape. "She's not." Chief Analyst Blipzup's crystalline form trembled. "Surely she's not going to—" But she was. The council watched in stunned silence as Amanda Chen did the impossible. She reprogrammed the maintenance bot on the fly, using it as a makeshift radiation shield. The plasma wrenches, never designed for such use, became makeshift energy conduits. The duct tape somehow held reality itself together. "Against every known law of physics," Max narrated, his voice tight. Engineer Chen not only entered the radioactive chamber, but managed to stabilize the quantum core using nothing but improvised tools and what she later described as good old-fashioned elbow grease. The footage showed Amanda emerging 20 minutes later, covered in grease and glowing slightly, but grinning triumphantly. The quantum core readings had stabilized. What should have taken 3 weeks and a team of specialists had been accomplished by one human with improvised tools in less time than it took to prepare a standard nutrient meal. "Told you it would work," recording Amanda declared, taking her beer back from Travis. "Just had to bypass the secondary containment field and reroute the quantum flux through the maintenance bot's cleaning protocols. Easy peasy." "The maintenance bot wasn't designed to handle quantum flux," Representative Isix pointed out, their gas forms swirling in agitation. "Precisely," Max replied grimly. When questioned later, Engineer Chen said, and I quote, "Sometimes you got to think outside the box." Our physicists are still trying to understand how the cleaning protocols of a basic maintenance bot could possibly channel quantum energy. Early analysis suggests it shouldn't be possible. And yet, the footage ended with Amanda taking a victory sip of her beer, while behind her, the alien engineers stared in horror at their diagnostic tools, which showed the quantum core running at 110% efficiency, better than when it was new. "This was just the first documented incident," Max said, his lower left eye twitching again. "We've recorded 17 more uses of the phrase, 'hold my beer,' in the past 3 months alone, each incident more impossible than the last." Chief Analyst Blipzupf raised a crystalline appendage. "What are the common factors in these incidents?" Max pulled up a holographic list. 1. The presence of the beverage known as beer. 2. A seemingly impossible problem. 3. The human in question displaying what our psychologists call absolute confidence bordering on madness. 4. Success, despite every calculation showing failure as the only possible outcome. Defence Minister Crix Vex had finally regained some of his colour. "And the humans consider this normal?" "Worse," Max replied. "They consider it fun." The chamber erupted in frightened whispers. The humans had been dangerous enough before this revelation, but now they knew the humans had a phrase, a simple phrase that seemed to bend reality itself. And this was just the beginning. "Our research team has compiled historical evidence of this phenomenon," Max continued, bringing up a new series of holographic displays. "What you're about to see comes from human historical records, social media archives, and personal video logs." The first clip appeared. A human named Kyle Thompson saying, "Hold my beer," before successfully jumping his primitive combustion vehicle over 20 other vehicles. The council watched in horror as the laws of physics took a backseat to human determination. Senior researcher Plix Bublox, a floating mass of interconnected pink bubbles, moved forward to present the scientific analysis. Their bubbles trembled as they spoke. We've documented 1,347 significant Hold My Beer events from Earth's historical records alone, Plix reported. Each one should have resulted in death, dismemberment, or at least a severe violation of known physical laws. Instead, they paused, popping a stress bubble. Instead, we got this. The holoscreen shifted to a rapid-fire montage. Humans walking on tightropes between buildings while blindfolded. Humans attaching rockets to personal transportation devices. Humans diving into bodies of water from impossible heights. Humans modifying their entertainment devices to run programs they were never designed to handle. The success rate, Plix continued, their voice quavering, is approximately 87.2%. That's statistically impossible. We fired our statistical analysis computer after it started displaying signs of existential dread. Chief Analyst Blip Zerp's crystalline form had developed several stress fractures. But surely there must be a scientific explanation. We thought so too, Plix replied. We assembled a research team of our finest minds. Dr. Squish, please share your findings. Dr. Squish, a hyper-intelligent shade of blue light, flickered forward. After 3 months of intensive study, our entire research department has reached one conclusion. We quit. Gasps echoed through the chamber. You quit? Defense Minister Crix Vex's gelatinous form rippled with disbelief. Half our researchers have requested retirement. The other half are taking extended sabbaticals to contemplate the nature of reality, Dr. Squish explained. We found humans successfully completing tasks while explicitly ignoring fundamental universal constants. Watch this. The screen showed another clip. A human mechanic named Rosa Martinez declaring, "Hold my beer," before fixing a quantum phase oscillator with nothing but a rubber band and something called WD-40. The rubber band shouldn't have been able to maintain quantum coherence, Dr. Squish noted. The WD-40 shouldn't have been able to lubricate time itself. Yet here we are. Plix Bublox brought up another data set. We've identified certain conditions that seem to increase the phenomenon's potency. Multiple humans gathering together. Something called a Friday night. The presence of recording devices. And most terrifyingly, and someone saying that's impossible, or you can't do that. The council murmured nervously. Everyone knew that telling a human something was impossible only made them more determined to prove you wrong. Our most disturbing finding, Plix continued, several bubbles now a sickly green color, is that the phenomenon appears to be contagious. We've documented non-humans beginning to exhibit similar behavior after prolonged exposure to human crews. Last week, a Zentorian engineer was heard saying, "Hold my fermented neural stimulant," before rewiring an entire starship's propulsion system using only interpretive dance. The implications are clear, Max Quantum interjected. The humans aren't just defying physics, they're teaching others to defy physics. At this rate, we estimate total breakdown of universal constants within, well, nobody knows because our prediction models keep having nervous breakdowns. Dr. Squish flickered anxiously. We tried to calculate the worst-case scenario, but the quantum computer just displayed the message, LOL, nope, and began playing something called elevator music. The council chamber had grown eerily quiet. The revelation that humans could not only break physics, but spread this ability to others, had shaken them to their core. Several representatives were already drafting emergency legislation to classify Hold My Beer as a Class 1 reality threat. And they hadn't even gotten to the military implications yet. Grand Admiral Zip Spacefist of the Galactic Defense Force stomped to the podium, his metallic exoskeleton clanking with each step. His reputation for handling impossible threats had earned him the nickname the Vacuum Cleaner. But now, even he looked rattled. The military implications are severe, he announced, bringing up tactical displays. We attempted to classify humans on our standard threat scale. They broke the scale. We built a new scale. They broke that too. Eventually, the scale itself asked for a vacation day. The display showed footage from military station Delta 9. A human soldier, Private Randy Cooper was cornered by malfunctioning security drones. "Watch what happens when we tried our standard containment protocols," Zip commanded. The footage showed Private Cooper grinning at his squad mate. "Hey, Jackson, hold my beer. I'm going to try something stupid." "Not again," groaned several council members simultaneously. What followed was 3 minutes of Private Cooper somehow reprogramming hostile security drones using nothing but dance moves and incorrect passwords. The drones not only stood down, but started performing a synchronized dance routine. "Our cybersecurity experts had to take a group meditation retreat after watching this," Zip reported. "The drones shouldn't have even recognized those movements as commands. Yet now we have an entire squad of security units that won't respond unless you do something called the Macarena." The Admiral brought up another tactical simulation. "We developed specialized containment units designed to hold humans. Here's what happened." The footage showed the testing facility. The human test subject, Sarah Martinez, had been told the containment unit was impossible to escape. "You really shouldn't have said impossible," Max Quantum muttered. Sure enough, the footage showed Sarah passing her beverage to the testing supervisor. "Hold my beer, watch this." 45 seconds later, she had not only escaped, but had somehow converted the containment unit into what she called a pretty decent hot tub. "Our engineers still can't explain how she rerouted the quantum containment field to heat and circulate water," Zip admitted. More disturbingly, 3 other species have since copied the modification. We now have an entire detention block that's been converted into a spa facility. Defense Minister Crix Vex's gelatinous form had developed several worried bubbles. "Surely we can counter this somehow." "We tried," Zip replied grimly. "We assembled our finest tactical minds to develop anti-hold-my-beer countermeasures. Their first suggestion was to remove all beer from human facilities." "And?" prompted Chief Analyst Blip Zerp. "The humans switched to something called vodka. It got worse. Much worse." Zip shuddered, his exoskeleton rattling. "We then tried reverse psychology, telling humans they were absolutely capable of doing things we wanted to prevent. The results? They said, 'Challenge accepted' instead of 'Hold my beer.' The success rate remained unchanged." The Admiral's final tactical display showed a new protocol being implemented across all military installations. "Our current strategy is to simply evacuate the area whenever we hear those dreaded words. It's cheaper than rebuilding and better for morale." "What about the psychological impact on our troops?" someone asked. "We've had to establish support groups," Zip answered. "We call it Beings Who Have Witnessed Hold My Beer Events Anonymous. Membership is growing exponentially." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Their military, the finest in the galaxy, had been reduced to running away at the sound of 3 simple words. And the worst was yet to come. Chief Diplomat VRX Smoothscales slithered forward, their scales changing colours rapidly, a clear sign of diplomatic distress. "The beer summit incident must be addressed," they said, their voice barely a whisper, though many of us still wake up screaming when we remember it. The holoscreen shifted to footage from 2 weeks ago, the Grand Diplomatic Hall of Harmony, where representatives from every major galactic power had gathered to discuss the Hold My Beer phenomenon with human representatives. "We thought," Varex explained, "that a formal diplomatic setting would contain the phenomenon. We were wrong, so very, very wrong." The footage showed human ambassador Jack Rodriguez standing at the central podium, wearing his formal diplomatic attire. Around him, hundreds of alien diplomats waited nervously, their various appendages hovering over emergency teleport buttons. "My fellow beings of the galaxy," Ambassador Rodriguez began smoothly, "I understand your concerns about this phrase. Perhaps a demonstration will help ease your minds." "No, no, no," several council members watching the replay muttered. "Ambassador Chen," Rodriguez called out to his assistant, "hold my beer." The footage showed several diplomats immediately diving under their desks. Others began emergency meditation sequences. One hive mind split itself into individual components and ran in different directions. The ambassador then proceeded to do something that should have been physically impossible, Verrex narrated, their scales turning a pale shade of green. He decided to prove that humans could be trusted by breaking every known law of physics, diplomatically. The council watched in horror as Ambassador Rodriguez proceeded to juggle 5 antimatter containment spheres while reciting the complete diplomatic histories of 12 different species, backwards, in their native languages, including 3 that required simultaneous speech from multiple mouths, which humans don't even have. Notice, Max Quantum pointed out, how his heart rate actually decreases during this display. The footage continued. When several diplomats claimed this had to be some sort of trick, Rodriguez grinned that familiar human grin. You think that's impressive? Hey Chen, get me another beer. I'm going to show them what happens when we really try. The next part of the footage has been classified as a Class X diplomatic incident, Verrex said, their scales now cycling through colors that weren't supposed to exist. But I can summarize the key events. The diplomat pulled up a list. 1. Ambassador Rodriguez somehow proved that pi was exactly 3 within the diplomatic chamber, but only while he was telling jokes. 2. He solved 3-century-old blood feuds by getting the opposing parties to laugh at something called dad jokes. 3. He performed a diplomatic dance that simultaneously honored 12 conflicting cultural traditions. 4. He signed 17 peace treaties using interpretive dance while spinning on his head. 5. And most impossibly, he got the bureaucratic union of proper procedure to approve something without the required forms, in triplicate. The quantum improbability of that last one nearly caused a reality collapse, Verrex noted. 3 probability calculators achieved sentience just to resign in protest. The footage jumped ahead to the aftermath. The diplomatic chamber looked like reality had hiccuped. Several delegates had evolved into higher forms of life purely out of shock. The bureaucratic union representatives were spotted actually doing something efficiently, causing their staff to faint. But surely, Defense Minister Crix Vex interjected, this was an isolated incident. If only, Verrex replied. Their scales shifted to display scenes from the following days. A Zentorian diplomat was seen asking someone to hold my psychic manifestation orb before negotiating with their eyes closed. A blob collective attempted to divide itself into fractal patterns after someone said it was mathematically impossible. The High Council of Logic had to take a 6-hour recess when one of their members said, "Watch this," before proving that emotion was logical. The humans aren't just changing physics, Verrex concluded. They're changing diplomacy itself. Last week, the eternal enemies of Sector 7 ended their million-year war after a human suggested they were incapable of making peace. They signed the treaty while skydiving because, and I quote, someone said it couldn't be done. Ambassador Rodriguez's final words from the summit appeared on screen. And that, my friends, was just a warm-up. Wait until you see what happens at next week's Galactic Olympics. The chamber erupted in panic. 3 species simultaneously filed applications to evolve into energy beings. The Department of Physical Constants demanded hazard pay. We had to cancel the Galactic Olympics, Max Quantum added, not because we were afraid, but because the laws of physics filed a restraining order against humanity. The council sat in stunned silence. The diplomatic implications were clear. Humanity hadn't just challenged their understanding of reality. They'd made reality itself throw up its hands and walk off the job. And somewhere out there more humans were saying, "Hold my beer." Grand Assessor Zap Thoughtweaver, whose species specialized in classifying galactic threats, floated to the podium. His normally organized thought bubbles were in complete disarray. After extensive analysis, Zap began, we've created an entirely new classification for humans. They now rank as a category, please don't on our threat scale. This replaces our previous highest category, oh no, and sits 17 levels above merely catastrophic. The hollow screen displayed the new threat assessment hierarchy, though several categories appeared to be gibberish, as if the classification system itself was having a nervous breakdown. We've also implemented the beer protocol, Zapp continued, his thought bubbles turning various shades of anxious. When those 3 words are spoken, all nearby systems automatically save their current reality settings and prepare for an imminent breakdown of universal constants. A series of resignation letters appeared on the screen. The list of departed officials was staggering. The entire Department of Probability. 7 quantum physics researchers who evolved into pure mathematics to escape the madness. The head of the Bureau of Things That Make Sense. The administrator of universal constants. The director of what should and should not be possible. The administrator of universal constants left a particularly concerning note, Zapp reported, bringing up the resignation letter. It read simply, "Reality is now more of a suggestion than a rule. I'm retiring to become a quantum poetry critic. At least that's supposed to not make sense." "The beer protocol has 3 stages," Zapp explained, pulling up a new diagram. Stage 1, beer mentioned. Immediate evacuation of all beings who respect physics. Activation of reality stabilization fields. Deployment of quantum uncertainty absorbers. Beginning of official "what did they do this time" documentation. Stage 2, beer holding transfer initiated. Full reality backup recommended. Notification of next of kin. Preparation of "that's not supposed to be possible" report forms. Emergency deployment of sense-making recovery teams. Stage 3, the words are spoken. Abandon all hope. Accept that whatever happens next will violate at least 3 fundamental laws of nature. Begin planning for inevitable success despite impossibility. Update physics textbooks accordingly. Furthermore, Zapp continued, his thought bubbles now tied in actual knots, we've had to establish new government departments. The Ministry of Impossible Achievements, the Bureau of Reality Adjacent Events, the Department of Why Not, the Office of Hold My Beer Incident Recovery. Our annual budget now includes a line item for physics repair and reality maintenance that's larger than some planetary defense budgets, Zapp noted. We've also had to hire special counselors for our supercomputers who have started showing signs of existential crisis. The final slide showed the new official classification of humanity. Species classification, human. Threat level, yes. Reality. Compliance, optional. Physics relationship status, it's complicated. Recommended response, run. Note: if you hear a human say they can't do something because it's impossible, evacuate the galaxy. In conclusion, Zapp said, his thought bubbles nearly transparent with stress, we recommend accepting that humans will continue to do impossible things and focus our efforts on damage control and reality preservation. With that, Zapp Thoughtweaver announced his own resignation, stating he was off to study something more predictable, like chaos theory. His final act was to approve the installation of Hold My Beer emergency shelters across all major galactic facilities. The Council watched in resigned silence as their last bastion of logical classification joined the growing ranks of officials who had chosen retirement over trying to make sense of humanity. The Council chamber had grown quiet as Max Quantum presented his final slide. And that brings us to today. Despite our best efforts, humanity continues to thrive in our community, largely because we've stopped trying to apply logic to their actions. The latest statistics appeared on the holoscreen. 47 cases of impossible engineering solutions. 23 diplomatic incidents involving reality violations. 12 new species applying for Hold My Beer observer status. 1 request from the laws of physics for a vacation day. We've implemented new warning systems, Max explained, gesturing to a flashing display. The Galactic Alert System now includes a specific beer warning level ranging from mildly concerning to physics has left the chat. A small alert chimed through the chamber. Everyone tensed. Don't worry, Max assured them. That's just the daily humans did something impossible report. Today, they apparently taught a black hole to play jazz. The black hole is now touring with a quantum uncertainty quartet. Defense Minister Crix Vex, who had finally learned to maintain his form during human-related discussions, raised an appendage. And our current relationship status with humanity? Surprisingly good, Max replied. They've proven to be excellent allies, primarily because our enemies can't predict their actions. Even our best precognitive species just get headaches when trying to see what humans will do next. The final slide showed the new official Galactic Security Advisory. Warning, humans may appear more rational than they are. If you hear the phrase, "hold my beer, watch this," please follow these steps. 1. Don't watch this. 2. Evacuate immediately. 3. Accept that it will somehow work anyway. 4. Update your reality insurance policy. In conclusion, Max said, straightening his now permanently wrinkled uniform, we've learned to live with humanity's reality-bending capabilities. Some species have even started trying to replicate it, though we strongly advise against. He was interrupted by an alert on his communicator. His 4 eyes widened. I've just received word that a group of Zentorian scientists, after being told it was impossible, have successfully taught quantum mathematics to a potted plant. They were heard saying, "Hold my photosynthetic nutrient solution," beforehand. Max sighed deeply. It appears the condition is spreading. If anyone needs me, I'll be in the reality-adjacent panic room, filing my own resignation. Any final observations? Chief Analyst Blip Zerp asked. Yes, Max replied. Next time we discover a new species, let's check if they drink beer first.